Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. I hope everyone had a wonderful, a phenomenal Sunday and weekend, and you enjoyed the rest of the holidays today. And I hope that you have work off so you can enjoy this time with your family and friends, and then come upon this very unfortunate level of news that we're going to be taking a look at in this video. War, it's not about to break out. It has broken out. Yep, at a level that seems like shit is already hitting the fan. It's blown through the roof. That's not good. There was also another assassination attempt on President Donald Trump. That's the third one. What the hell is going on? Forced sterilization of Indigenous women in Canada was a thing up until a couple of days ago. I had no idea about that. And then growing concerns for Justin Trudeau to resign, but also more importantly, his lead advisor got the boot. Not about, but in a Canadian way, got the literal boot, poof, out of the door, and he's hiring somebody else, which begs the question, what the hell is going to happen with Justin Trudeau in the coming weeks? Well, that's what we're going to take a look at today, along with many other things. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another video, everybody. Before we get into it, I do want to encourage y'all to smash that like button and subscribe if you haven't yet already. It tremendously helps grow the channel. It's actually the best way of helping the channel. I know there's a lot of channel members, there's a lot of people that purchase merchandise, stickers, and yada yada, but if you don't want to do any of that, the best way to do it is by clicking, tapping that subscribe button and that little bell notification. We're actually pretty close to 411,000 subscribers. And without further ado, let's get into it. So I said yesterday and in previous videos that the polls are going to be changing. And Justin Trudeau is going to go down and Pierre Poilievre is going to go up. But for some reason, that's not what happened. Pierre Poilievre was at 228 projected seats. He's gone down to 222. And then Justin Trudeau was at 53, 55, something like that. And now he's up to 57. The Bloc at a standstill, 42. And Jagmeet, Juggy Jaggers went from 18 up to 20. Wow. But again, nothing to worry about. Still phenomenal position here. The Conservatives are still at 99% likely across the board of winning the most seats and odds of a majority government. So that is looking great. That's looking great. Oh, and then also this odds of official opposition. Looks like the Liberals, looks like Justin Trudeau is going to be leader of the opposition, you know, whenever post the next election, which is going to be phenomenal because when I do my question period intro, when I yell it into the microphone, I know a lot of people don't like it, but sorry, I drink like this much coffee, so can't help myself. We'll be kicking things off with Justin Trudeau to ask the first question as leader of the opposition. But anyways, let's get into some like doom and gloom stuff here because this is kind of crazy. All right, and I need everyone to pay attention to what's going on right now because this information is likely going to have an impact on how you kind of conduct yourself over the next couple of days or weeks. At least it maybe should with your purchasing habits and, you know, stockpiling a few items because this is getting out of control. So North Korea announced today that 8 artillery brigades along the border with South Korea have now been put on full combat readiness. In response, South Korea's defense ministry said any attempt by North Korea to hurt South Koreans would result in the fall of the Kim regime. So it's actually happening. You're about to see North and South Korea go head to head. And you can see here by Canadian Prepper, it says North Korea is on high alert after propaganda leaflets were dropped on its territory by a South Korean drone that entered North Korean airspace. Things are very much picking up, and you've got even newspapers writing about this. North Korea says it's ordered the border army to be ready to shoot. And then moving out of the Koreas, you've got China is surrounding Taiwan. The Chinese People's Liberation Army has announced the beginning of an exercise Joint Sword 2024B, I guess 2024B, around the island of Taiwan and in the South China Sea, involving hundreds of aircraft and ship with the Eastern Theater Command. The exercise will be a continuation of 2024A joint sword, which took place May 23 and 24. And they are just completely surrounding Taiwan, which obviously is not really a nothing burger. It's pretty scary what's going on, right? America is also on full alert with this situation. Update: Taiwan on full alert, prepares for invasion. Chinese President Xi orders that Taiwan is surrounded and cut off from all foreign influence. War is coming very soon. And then you have the ex-Russian president, Dmitry, says NATO will eventually throw Ukraine in the trash. And as you've kind of seen over the past little while, I mean, the past couple of years, Ukraine and Russia was like this center focus. And that's just not the case anymore, because Ukraine isn't like not an allied country, not a NATO country, right? Even though they've applied to NATO, or they were going to apply, the relationship that we have with them is purely economical. We don't have necessarily any moral or like we're not tied by any contracts, right? Which is different than Israel. So America has officially deployed into Israel to help with this ongoing fight. By the Globe Eye News here, the United States is deploying troops to Israel. It is happening, folks. They are going to war. U.S. will send air defense battery and American troops to Israel to bolster defenses against Iran. This is happening. Like, this is crazy. And then, while all this is also going on, you had Trump go through another attempted assassination. Let's take a little look here at this clip.
In general terms, I will tell you that we had a larger outside perimeter and then an inside perimeter that was completely controlled by us, by Riverside County Sheriff's deputies, and both of them served different purposes. Only people that were allowed inside the perimeter, the outside perimeter, in a vehicle was if you lived there or if you had documentation that said you were going to this rally. He approached the outside perimeter, gave all indications that he belonged there, that he was a participant that was allowed to get into VIP and to and a press corps, and so he was allowed through that outer perimeter. As he got to the inside perimeter, where deputies were conducting obviously a more thorough evaluation of the vehicles that were coming in, there were many irregularities that popped up. The deputy noticed that the interior of the vehicle was in quite disarray. The vehicle had an obviously fake license plate, and that prompted further investigation from our deputy into why the person was there and what he was doing.
So this is obviously extremely terrifying, because this is now the third public attempted assassination on Donald Trump, and we're within 20 days of this election, and it just feels, or around there, it just feels like this cannot happen. Like, everything needs to go very, very smooth until after the election, until after he's sworn in and gets all of that Secret Service, because that is not okay by any means. I'd love to know what you guys think down below in the comments about that. Now let's shift things over to Canada and let's get some wholesome news for a change here. So there was the cops were called in the East Coast who to be by the guy Newfoundland. A woman called to complain about noisy kids, and this is how the police responded. They joined in on the kids playing road hockey. That is just so wholesome and heartwarming. And let me just break that bubble for you right now, because then in other news, a woman was trying to smuggle 29 turtles from the US into Canada by kayak, and she faces 10 years in prison. 10 years for trying to take turtles from America into Canada. And like, I just don't understand that. You've got people that are murdering in the streets, murder, as Joe Rogan likes to say, and they get bail, not jail. Like, it doesn't make any sense. But kayak, canoe theft means 10 years in prison. Like, it doesn't make any sense at all. And then, speaking of not making any sense, I don't understand this. So we're going to take a look at this together here. This is the Canadian Senate unanimously supports a bill to end forced sterilization of Indigenous women. What the hell? How was I mean, I'm sorry, what? Did I hear that correctly? That's my initial reaction.
Bill passed third reading. A Senate report detailed what it calls horrific accounts of between 12 and 15,000 women, mostly Indigenous, being sterilized in the past 50 years. In some cases, going in for C-sections and finding out later doctors severed their fallopian tubes or removed reproductive organs without consent. Something Nicole Rabbit and her late mother, Mary, both endured.
Someone has to be accountable for the act of genocide that we Indigenous people have faced and continue to face in regards to forced and coerced sterilization. Our human rights continue to be violated to this day.
A violation that could soon be a crime.
This is ultimate violence. When you remove someone's opportunity to give life, I don't know how you can be more violent.
This bill is going to prevent this from ever happening again. This is one step further toward ensuring that safety and that body autonomy for Indigenous young people is there.
Yeah, I mean, anyone, right? Like the fact that it's happened to Indigenous people is just like insane to think about. But the fact that that's happened to anybody in Canada, like what the hell is going on? Yeah, absolutely. Get rid of that. That's absolutely insane. And I'm going to politicize it for a moment here and say, I mean, why has this now taken 9 years for Justin Trudeau to address this? This should have been like the moment it came to any sitting, prime minister to have been like, yeah, no, let's get rid of that. That's absolutely insane. But I'd love to know your thoughts down below in the comments about that. And now we're going to take a look at some Justin Trudeau news here. Here we go.
China's growing economic influence is also an issue that brought together Canada and two of its key allies at the ASEAN summit today. CTV's Judy Trin reports from Laos once again tonight.
Canada's trade with ASEAN's bloc of 10 countries has grown to more than $38 billion annually. The Prime Minister wants to take it to the next level by signing a free trade deal by next year.
ASEAN represents the fastest growing region in the globe. In fact, trade between Canada and ASEAN has nearly doubled since I first became Prime Minister in 2015.
But increasing economic influence in the region is a challenge when the biggest competitor, China, doesn't always play fair. A topic of discussion for Justin Trudeau and his Australian and New Zealand counterparts.
And we there again share our support for democratic values, our support for human rights, our opposition to violence and some of the conflicts that we see.
In trade disputes, China has threatened Canada, Australia, and New Zealand with tariffs. All three countries are turning to ASEAN to reduce their reliance on Chinese goods.
This is about building new trading partnerships, new relationship, advancing new areas, be that in aerospace, defense, technology, energy.
But the threats are more than just economic. In the past year, Chinese hackers have targeted the governments of all three countries. The trade minister says sharing challenges could lead to united solutions.
I think what we came out of there is this commitment together to make sure that we continue to uphold rules-based trade and to work together.
In the meantime, Canada is expanding its footprint in Southeast Asia. Next year, it will open up 2 new embassies in Cambodia and Laos.
And we still haven't heard yet from Justin Trudeau or any Canadian politician for that matter about, at least at the time of this recording, about this new China surrounding Taiwan news. Because, I mean, the West does not support Taiwan being invaded. The West sees Taiwan as a separate part of China. And China is saying, hey, give us that back. It's ours. We're taking it. And it just feels like the West needs to, I think we should start minding our own business. But that's just my opinion, and I'd love to know yours. And then we have another update here on Justin Trudeau. This breaks down what the hell is going on with these 20 to 30 Liberal MPs that are saying, hey, yeah, we don't believe in Justin Trudeau anymore. We want to get rid of him. So it turns out that the Liberal Revolt is about Trudeau, communications, and the carbon tax. Let's take a little look-see-poo.
Shockwaves reverberating through the federal Liberal Party. Last night, we reported that up to 30 caucus members secretly supported a document revolting against Justin Trudeau's leadership. Now, there has been a shakeup in the upper ranks as the Prime Minister's office does damage control. Mackenzie Gray joins us now with the latest. Mackenzie.
Well, it certainly seems like a small concession from the Prime Minister's office, Carolyn, for Justin Trudeau to appoint a new campaign director just a few days after news of a coordinated effort by up to 30 members of the Liberal caucus to push him out went public. Andrew Bevan, who's currently the chief of staff to the Deputy Prime Minister, now has the difficult task of overcoming a 20-point deficit to the Conservatives, but Bevan hasn't shied away from tough fights before, even if they always didn't work out. He ran Stéphane Dion's office when he pushed the Green Shift in the 2008 election, and was with Kathleen Wynne when the Ontario Liberals got smoked in 2018. The job had been vacant for over a month after another longtime Liberal, Jeremy Broadhurst, resigned. And not filling that job while the government faced multiple non-confidence votes in the House of Commons had been a common complaint from many Liberals that Global News has spoken to.
Mackenzie, you and the team have been working the phone. So where do things sit today with Trudeau's future as leader?
Well, it seems safe for now. Global News has learned that on Friday, Carolyn, the Prime Minister's office was already trying to hunt down Liberals who'd signed the document demanding that Trudeau resign. That effort started while the Prime Minister was flying home from his recent trip to Asia, and at the top of the list of suspects, Atlantic MPs, specifically Cody Blows, who told his colleagues in a closed-door Liberal caucus meeting last Wednesday that Trudeau didn't attend, that he just had a difficult but frank discussion about the future of his party with other Maritime MPs, then walked out of the room. Global News reached out to Blows for comment, and he didn't respond. But many other Liberal MPs have spoken with our Parliamentary Bureau, and those who want change tend to be so-called blue Liberals, socially progressive but more fiscally conservative. And many of them believe someone like Industry Minister François-Philippe Champagne would quickly turn around the Liberals' fortunes. One current MP saying Trudeau isn't just unpopular, he is strongly disliked by Canadians. But how deep that sentiment is within caucus is unclear. Multiple Liberals who spoke with Global News haven't been approached about signing the document, and many don't support the move, with one female non-rebel dismissing the group, saying it seems to be white men only who are upset. But in the end, there seems to be recognition by those who want change that it won't happen unless multiple MPs start publicly calling for the PM to quit, unlikely to happen immediately, with Parliament not sitting until next week.
Yeah, so there's a lot of runway to actually figure out what the hell is going on internally with these guys. But for them to suggest that François Champagne is like kind of a good runner-up, I mean, I don't know if I fully agree with that. I think that a lot of these, main Liberals, in fact, all of the Liberals right now, because the way they vote unanimously on certain things is ridiculous. The way that they, support this carbon tax is ridiculous. The way that they've supported Justin Trudeau is absolutely ridiculous. I think, the Liberals, in order for that party to not be what it is right now, they would have to get rid of literally everybody and start fresh, some new blood in there, some new ideas, and just move away from all that wokeism that's so detrimental to our society. But more importantly, do what's actually in the best interest of Canadians, not this mentality of saying, hey, we need to we need to fight the weather by taxing it. Like, that just doesn't make any sense. Anyone with critical thinking can say, yeah, how is my money going to combat climate change or the weather? And still to this day, not a single person that's in support of this is really able to answer that question. But we do have another update as well. Let's take a look here.
Tom Mulcair, CTV News political commentator and former NDP leader. Good to have you with us, Tom.
Good to be with you again, Renee, on this lovely Sunday during this long weekend that we're all enjoying so much.
That's absolutely right. Now let's get down to brass tacks here. The Liberals have filled some new roles. What can you tell us about the new appointments?
Well, Bevan, as you just described, is someone who worked closely with both Kathleen Wynne and Stéphane Dion. I don't know what that augurs for the shape of their current campaign, but he's clearly someone with deep experience. Marjorie Michel, I don't know her. I mean, I've been in Quebec politics for decades, and I can honestly say that she's not somebody that I've ever seen. So she does have background experience. She has a high role with around Trudeau right now, but I can honestly say I've never seen her in action. So I'm sure that Mr. Trudeau has full confidence in her ability to organize a national election campaign.
Now, the former campaign director, Jeremy Broadhurst, he has resigned. He resigned over the summer. Was this the right time for this sort of change? And what kind of challenges are these campaign directors going to have?
We've all been going through the tea leaves, trying to read exactly what's happening on background. Broadhurst's departure was unexpected, that's for sure. Does it show that there was a disagreement about how things were shaping up, about Mr. Trudeau continuing on as leader, for example? That's part of the backdrop to all of these discussions. So I'm sure that both Mr. Bevan and Madame Michel are deeply experienced. But what does it say about the real state of organization and preparedness of the Liberals right now? I think, Renee, it's fair to guess that this is going to be a decisive week for Justin Trudeau and for his Liberals. It's a week where Parliament's not sitting. So all the madness that we've been going through, the unhinged behavior.
Yeah, but it's not a win. Like, I don't think it'll make things worse. So by literal definition, sure, okay, it's going to be moving in a better or equal trajectory, but I don't think this is a win at all. Like, he does not have control of his MPs. He does not have control of his caucus. He doesn't have control of the narrative right now, which is a horrible place for any prime minister to be, especially one that's so hated. Like, his popularity is at an all-time high, but it's for hate. It's not for love and appreciation and even respect. And so this really internal, combustion that's happening, it doesn't look good. Even if they swap everybody out, like, there's nothing that they can do, in my opinion, at this point, to flip the script, to turn this around. The only thing that I could see as having a massive or a bit of a bump in the polls would be if they axed the tax, if they stopped the carbon tax and stopped the additional taxes and even just reduced regular taxes for people. I think that would be like, oh, well, that's great. The Conservatives are planning on doing that anyways. So the fact that it's done by the Liberals doesn't make it bad. What's bad is that it's been going on for so long by the Liberals, but I guess good job for finally coming to your senses and doing that. That's the only thing that they could do, in my opinion, that would actually really change the dynamic and shift the momentum a little bit. But I don't see that happening. I don't think anyone sees that happening because that would go against their entire narrative. Like, the pillars of how woke and how crazy liberalism right now is, it would just shatter that completely. So if they did go against the carbon tax and reduce taxes all around, then all Liberal supporters would lose faith in who they are because they've been supporting that. And so, I mean, it's just like one hypothetical scenario that will not happen. Like, 100% will not happen. But if it did, it would probably give a little bit of a boost.
Behavior from Poilievre and his Conservatives that Canadians are actually starting to pay attention to, because he took a significant drop in the polls over the past couple of weeks in terms of whether or not people find him to be a valid choice for Prime Minister. So that's the backdrop. If Trudeau was thinking that would work out well for him, he's going to be disabused of that notion soon because his numbers continue to be abysmal. So about the only thing that could help the Liberals right now, of course, would be a change of leadership. And Mr. Trudeau keeps signaling, no, he's not going anywhere. But if that's the case, then the Liberals themselves won't be going anywhere in the next campaign.
Right. Just quickly moving on to that, calls from Inside Caucus for the PM to step down. You're saying that you don't see that happening. So, I mean, I was going to ask if this is a death sentence for Justin Trudeau, but it doesn't sound like it.
Well, it'd be more of a death sentence for the Liberal Party's chances in the next election. But it should always be borne in mind that Trudeau is Trudeau. He's very headstrong. And if he senses that he's being pushed, he'll just do everything he can to prove the opposite. Renee, one of the things he's allowed to do under the Constitution is to take a walk across the lawn. He lives in Rideau Cottage. He walks across the lawn to Rideau Hall, which is Governor General Mary Simon's residence, and he asks for an election writ. And guess what? We're in an election campaign. But the information that I have from senior Liberals is that he's more likely to take that walk over to Mary Simon's place, Rideau Hall, and ask for prorogation of Parliament. I think that's what is in the cards. Trudeau needs a reset of some kind. Now, the information...
See, this is weird for Tom to say this because Chrystia Freeland was asked this at a press conference, and she, without hesitation, said, no, it's not on the table. And it sounds crazy for me to say this. It sounds crazy, but I trust that. I believe what Chrystia Freeland said, that prorogation is not on the table. I just don't see, as much as, it would be crazy and it seems like that's a possibility, I just don't see how that is likely right now due to the ego, due to the narcissism of Justin Trudeau. I think that he thinks he can turn this around, or that this isn't as bad as what he thinks it is. And just like Tom said, Pierre's reputation did take a little bit of a hit this weekend, even though I don't see that. And the polls did go a little bit up for Justin Trudeau. So removing any of that momentum that he may or may not have right now, I don't think that he would risk prorogation at all.
That I do have is that it will be a reset to allow the party to choose a new leader. I think that Trudeau is still young enough to have a very good rest of his career. I don't think he's the type of person who wants to be remembered as the guy who got wiped off the political map, which is basically what the numbers are telling us from, this is not a one-off. This is every poll from every polling company across the country. All of those firms are giving us the same information, and he has the same information and probably a lot more inside. So he's basically, this week, he's got to come to a decision, because otherwise there would never be time to organize a leadership race and to give that person a fighting chance to have at least a few months to get known by the Canadian voting public. Because the shorter it gets, the more difficult it becomes. There will be a honeymoon period for any new leader, because, again, if you look at the numbers of Poilievre right now, he has a net negative for the first time. In other words, more people say, ooh, no, thank you. I don't know what that behavior is, and I don't want him as prime minister. Singh doesn't seem to be anywhere right now in the polls. And so Trudeau would have the opportunity to pass the baton to another Liberal, perhaps Mark Carney. That's the name I've heard the most often, but there are really strong people in cabinet, whether it's Chrystia Freeland, of course, that everybody knows, or François-Philippe Champagne. There are several in cabinet who are strong, who could do a decent job. But again, all of the information I've got right now concurs around one thing, that the intention is to have Trudeau step aside, have that prorogation, that pause of Parliament, and allow the Liberals to choose a new leader who in all likelihood would be Mark Carney.
All right, we will have to leave it there.
I don't think that even that is going to happen, because Mark Carney doesn't want to be in politics. He doesn't want to be an MP. He wants to sit on the sidelines and reap similar rewards of what it would be like to be a politician, right? He's managing like $8 billion or $10 billion right out the gate. We don't have access. The Canadian public doesn't have access to his private investments and all of that, the way that we do with, elected officials that have to publicize that so that we can see whether they're benefiting from, their position in government. So Mark Carney is in that sweet spot where he gets a lot of the rewards and little to no repercussions. And I don't see how he would, at this point, take that shift and run in politics. He can't just take the baton. He has to run for a by-election. Who's to say he's even going to win? You've already seen multiple Liberal strongholds completely get shut out, and that baton has been handed to either Conservatives or the Bloc or the NDP, and so it's just not looking good for Justin Trudeau. But I think that what we're going to see is the Bloc is going to say, you haven't given us OAS, and so that's it, October 29th, tick-tock, and I think you're going to see the NDP, when it comes time to vote for non-confidence, they're going to abstain, or they're going to vote in favor of a vote of non-confidence. But that's just me and my opinion. I would absolutely love to know yours. This is the end of the video. Ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't yet already, I'd really like to encourage you guys to smash that like button and subscribe, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye for now. Happy Thanksgiving.